Hello, it's Orest reporting from war in Ukraine, and today I would like to explain you how I actually work, how I produce all those videos that you follow, and thank you very much for that. That's why a crew of Korean reporters came to my apartment and they interviewed me. So in the next section I'm going to explain you how things work, why do I do this, and in general my attitude towards the war reporting activity. Let's go.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you, Orest, for the support.
Thank you too. Please come.
Thank you. Could you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Orest. I am native to Lviv, Ukraine, and I'm a traveler. I visited over 120 countries around the world. I'm a travel blogger, so usually that's my work. Yes, I travel, I report from different places. I provide information about travel opportunities for Ukrainians abroad. And I also run a small marketing consulting digital company. However, when the war started, I decided to focus on the English language audience in order to spread the word about the events in Ukraine, even though before I was only running everything in Ukrainian on my media channels.
So after the war broke out, you posted many videos about the war on your YouTube and social media. What kind of videos are those?
Yeah, like that was my pure intention. So actually I knew what I wanted to do, and I decided to use the media presence about events in Ukraine, because this is kind of my superpower. We used to have already well set up and organized team, you know, editing video, producing content and so on. So we simply shift our focus. That was technically not hard. My goal was to document everything from the local perspective of myself and my family, what is actually happening in Ukraine during the war from the day one. I'm not trying to compete with global media, you know, providing breaking news and shout out with the loud headlines. That really scratch the surface of every event. Yes, what I'm actually doing is I go to places, I report on things only that I do see personally, and I provide a little bit more in-depth information for people to understand deeper what is actually happening in Ukraine. So I believe this is also an important part to do, because it builds just so much more relations between the global society and Ukrainians.
So what areas have you been in Ukraine, and what kind of people have you met there?
As I told, I'm living in Lviv, so the war caught me here. First weeks were like this, you know, shock, because at the first time in such situation it was more like a housekeeping things, taking care of the family, making sure they are safe, you know, taking care of my very old grandmother and so on. Then I had to gather all my team, which is scattered around the country, and some of them had to flee, some of them stayed in their own cities, but we continue our remote work together. And then we shifted very fast and effectively towards the media presence. So basically the first month I was in Lviv and Western Ukraine, documenting from here what I'm struggling with, how like local population goes through the war. And then when the areas in northern Ukraine around Kyiv got liberated, I went there but personally, so I spent over a week in areas around Kyiv. I'm talking about Bucha, Irpin, Borodyanka, and many other villages that nobody talks about actually. I spoke to many people documenting their stories, and it's fair to say that almost every family in those areas which were under occupation by Russian forces has something to tell. And on my YouTube channel I'm going to upload them one by one, because it's a lot of also work to do. Fortunately I have a team on the backside that are living in some towns in Western Ukraine in a safe zone, so they are able effectively to consume the information I'm providing to them and edit them well in order to make a proper piece of material which touch the heart of global society and which shows in a good way what is actually happening in Ukraine.
How does your team work?
We have the following procedure. I am the face of the media presence and the channel. Yeah, so I build relations with the audience. Also, I am fluent in English. Hopefully that's enough to provide essential information, and I go personally to particular places. Yes. I do the prior research, where can I go, I speak to local people. Recently I was traveling in those areas north of Kyiv with another journalist who is a friend of mine from Finland, Rauli Virtanen. He has the war correspondence experience starting from the war in Vietnam in 1972. So he's the older honorable man, and I learned a lot from him. We travel and then I make the videos by myself. Actually, I have two cameras. If I'm driving on the car, I can show something from my action camera while driving, still to pay attention. And if I go out, I use my iPhone camera, which is also pretty advanced nowadays. I have like this kind of, I can actually show you how it works. Yes, so this is my iPhone. I do it like this. And usually when I film, I try to use the main camera because it's much better quality. So I stand like this and I talk. It also has a good stabilization. In order to provide a good sound, I have these kind of very nice and beautiful microphones. So I have one here, I talk, the wind doesn't like destroy all the sound, and I can switch it and I can show and explain the area, right? So this takes like a fair amount of the day. Later, once I'm done, I come back to the place where I'm going to have shelter. It can be a hotel or some house, or now the weather is going to be warmer, I can even sleep in the car. I take my laptop, yes, and I download everything on the laptop from both cameras. It goes together. I quickly go through all of this material and I group them. For example, road, church, lady, dead body, or so on. Yeah? So I group it, and once I have approximately 100 or 150 shorter videos that I made, I upload this to our team's Google Drive, and my editor, who is living here in Western Ukraine in a safe place, he downloads it and he starts producing the content, right? It takes approximately a day or 2 days to make a draft video. Then he takes this draft video, he uploads this on our internal company drive. I watch through the video and I make comments, where he can edit, where he can add something, where he can change. In a good case scenario, after my first editing proposal, he uploads everything on YouTube itself after editing. I provide the headline description, and then the video is done. So that's a fast forward scenario how we are working and how we are producing content. So this is our dashboard for our team to work in, yes, and we have a project video war diary, and this is where we do communicate about this. And we have a section video war diary, yes, so we have a plan. Some videos have been done already, you see, we are checked. Some are still in the process. And this is like how I make comments to my friend, you see. So here I put the time and I show, okay, like here you have to fix something, and so on. So that's how we cooperate, and this system proved to be pretty effective.
So Orest, what is your goal by uploading those videos?
Nowadays, when there is a free flow of information, many things become transparent, but also it's very easy to fake information. And the war which is happening now in Ukraine is not only the war of tanks, bullets and armor, but this is also a media competition. So by visiting the places, I document things with my own eyes from the local perspective. I'm not trying to compete with the huge global media giants. I'm not showing these loud speaking headlines. I personally visit the place, I speak to people, I provide a little bit more in-depth information about the true events. I also show the situation to document way a little bit more than a very short media fragment about about the crime itself. I explain the area around, and if more people will do this, this will mean that we will have much more chances to deliver the truth, to explain situation in Ukraine, and to contribute towards the entire picture that the global society sees. In return, this adds up to documenting the signs of the war crimes, helping prosecutors to gather those facts and apply and submit them to the large case against the war crimes, and this also helps to persuade many governments to recognize that the terrible events in Ukraine that happened are actually the genocide. So, if to tell the short, I am participating in this war by taking active part in the media front.
So, Orest, could you show us your videos about the war crime of Russia?
Yeah, I just got back from Kiev and the surroundings, where I witnessed many terrible things that start to appear once the Russian army retreated from those areas. And one of the, the big stories, many of you know it, is from Bucha. So I was present during the process when the bodies have been excavated from the ground. This is one of the locations among many around Bucha. So during my presence there, approximately 2,000 bodies have been found. I came there also 2 days after my initial visit. The prosecutor confirmed 47 bodies have been found, and now this number is growing every day, and new locations around the town and around the entire area that were liberated recently is found that many signs of war crimes have been made. So I interviewed a local priest who was telling that on his own eyes Russian army soldiers were targeting civilians. There were situations when, for example, the guy was simply driving by a bicycle to get some groceries and he was shot. I'm afraid to see much more these signs of the war crimes in the nearest future in comparison to this initial shock what we have witnessed now, because every village suffered, every family has what to tell, and this process will simply be developing much more. I spoke actually to many people, and every village, not only in Bucha but in the surrounding area, has something to tell. There are confirmed cases of raping Ukrainian women by Russian soldiers. There are confirmed cases when people were traveling through evacuation corridor and their car was shot. I mean, I can tell a lot about many different locations. For example, there was also there was a situation when a family of a man, wife, two children and their mother of the man were driving with two cars during the green corridor time from Bucha, and the first car passed, the second car was shot, and the bullet went into the head of a woman. Eventually she slid down from the road. Her husband stopped, he ran back. Together with her and his son, they pulled her from the car, and with the old granny, who is over 70 years, they were just simply running away on the opposite side of the road on the field from the Russian forces. Eventually they found a shelter in one of the semi-destroyed houses in that area, and the next day the woman died. So her husband and her son had to bury her in the backyard of the house. So this is just one of the stories, and currently the journalists, the prosecutors, the police are gathering all of those stories, all of those documents. They file it properly and gather entire documentation to start the process of investigating the war crimes, and to finish this with punishing the guilty people there. Yeah. So this is something that nobody could even think of in Ukraine, because we are a peaceful country. We never initiated an aggressive war. You know, this is the story of the underdog doing their best to fight for freedom, to protect their lives, families, and well, essentially on the global scale, Ukraine is representing the true values of freedom, democracy and liberty that many countries in the West have already forgotten, right? So this is very inspiring, and that's what keeps all of us together and motivate us to do the best we can.
Are you gonna upload in future? Are you gonna continue to upload in future videos about the war crime in Ukraine, about the war in Ukraine, and go to those dangerous places? And as an individual person, are you not afraid?
Well, that's what actually I'm doing right now. I must say that in terms of documenting the war crimes, or a sign of the war crimes, I just started, because I recently came from this over a week expedition in northern liberated areas of Ukraine. So the Bucha video that you have just seen is one of the first videos that I'm actually uploaded recently. So there is definitely more and more to come. You also understand that this is a hard work, even technically. You know, you have to film it, you have to upload it, you have to go through it, you have to edit it, and so on. That's why I'm very fortunate to have my colleagues with whom I used to work in the marketing and blogging business before, and now we are completely focused to provide this war-related content. So definitely yes. It will take a fair amount of time. We are doing our best to upload one well-produced video every 3 days. And definitely we're going to continue. In terms of safety, I would like to tell that I'm not going on the front line. You know, where is the risk to be like the target of the artillery strike or something similar. Also, our army are very professional. That's what I've seen from visiting areas where I spoke with the soldiers, and they actually don't let journalists to put their life under threat going to very active war zones. So what I understood, because it was my just first trip to such a condition, is that as soon as the particular area becomes liberated, then the deminers go in. Yes, they make sure that like one road or one street is demined, and they open it, right? And then the journalists or people can come and then provide further information. So that's the way what I was practicing on my prior trip, and I don't see here a big risk comparing to our soldiers who are on the front line and who are really like under strike attacks constantly. The biggest risk in such situation is probably just go to the place which was not demined, and simply not be fortunate enough to step on the mine. So for example, I told that we were traveling to Chernihiv, which is a city all the way north from Kiev, along the road. And just after us, the next day, I've seen on the news that like a local person was coming back home, and he simply stopped on the side of the road, you know, for a short break, and he found a mine and the car exploded and he died. So that's something very important to keep in mind, and go to the areas that are already checked, and that's a smart and responsible way to act for me as a journalist.
Many citizens also like you post videos about the war crimes of the Russian troops and the horror of the war, even by risking their lives maybe. What do you think? Why are the Ukrainian people so brave, not afraid to do it? And how does this affect the war? How does this affect the war when you upload such kind of videos?
Well, once you have skin in the game, when is the question, will you live or will you die? You will do everything to survive, right? So that's the position of Ukraine. Many people fled. We are talking about 5 million Ukrainians who left the country, which is an astonishing number. However, for those who stay, it's just out of question. Like, I mean, For me, I see no sense going somewhere, right? I'm in my own land, in my own home. Why would I go somewhere? We are protecting our land. We don't need like anybody's else things. So the only way what we do is we stay on our land and we keep protecting this by different means. And documenting the war crimes, documenting the stories is one part in this huge puzzle in order to win the war. So that's why people are doing this. Also, it provides invaluable information to the global society, and the more people will see it, the more some, I don't know, businessmen in Seoul or in New York, they will see like, oh, okay, this is very terrible. Let me push my community, and my community will push our local government, and the local council will push the federal council, and then Ukraine will get some armor support, right? So that's how the things work. The scale of the event, the scale of the war is huge, yes. So the more these evidences, the more of these documentations we have, the better it is in the general scale. Also, Ukraine is a huge country, so we are talking about, I don't know, it's a couple of times larger than Korea, for example. And the resources of the official, like prosecutors, police, are limited, yes. It's hard for them to cover all the stories at once. So if neighbors will document it, if journalists, bloggers will document it, it will create a signal for the officials, who then make the list of all of these possible crimes and then go and make the proper procedure to fix all of this and to submit to the general case of the war crimes.
Do you have any last words for your fellow Ukrainians, or for the world, or for the Russians?
Many things have been told already. I think this is in the interest of everybody to finish the war, on the preferable conditions of the entire civilized human world. So my main call to action will be to the foreign people: continue support personally Ukrainians, you know, continue support our army, and continue put pressure on your governments to provide more military support to Ukraine. This is number one. For Ukrainian fellows, I would tell that you are the most amazing people on earth. I never felt so integrated with my nation, and we are the warriors of light at the moment. It's a very honorable position, and once we are done with this war, we will be the most respected people on earth.
So are you going to continue to upload those videos in the future?
Oh, definitely. As I told, I just came back recently from newly liberated areas in northern Ukraine, and actually the Bucha video and a few others are just the beginning of my work. We have a well set up team. Currently they are working hard on all the further materials, and I mean, that's a month of works ahead. Once we are done with the already existing materials, we will come back to other areas that became recently liberated by Ukrainian army and continue gather all the evidences down there. At the moment I am back in Lviv just to recharge mentally, to work through all the documents we have, and very soon, once we are done with this, we are back on the media front. However, I really don't want this to slide down also, because the war is not finished, it's actually going on a much more active phase. But the media is designed the way that people lose attention very quickly. So my job is to continue speaking about this, continue providing facts, continue providing the truth about what's really happening in Ukraine, and to draw attention to our situation, because not only this is the destiny of Ukrainians, the future of the world is getting resolved now here in Ukraine, and it's imperative, it's very important for people to continue following the events, to continue providing support to Ukrainian army, to Ukrainian people. And in every video I tell, guys, don't forget, we are fighting not only for us, we are fighting for your liberty and your freedom as well, for the basic principles of democracy. So you have to continue support us in all possible manners in order to finish this and in order to have peace in the future. So that's my goal in the contributing to this war. Thanks for watching. I hope now you understand much better the way how we document war reporting events in Ukraine and how we produce content. As you can see, this is pretty much a complicated process with many moving parts that we have to connect together, and definitely we are going to continue doing this with our team. So I'm looking forward to your direct support, guys, and I just want to tell that we opened a Patreon, and this is the tool which enables you with a small monthly donation, helping us to sustain our work and in general to support Ukraine. So please stay with us, just follow the link below, take a look what are the options, and looking forward to see you in the upcoming video material. Stay safe.